Pascrell.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. It's a lovely day in the neighborhood. Commissioner Werfel, you've been a breath of fresh air to me. We had little problems with the last guy who sat in your seat. Welcome back. After years of chaos, very new day at the IRS. Last month, you already talked about it. The IRS announced it had recovered $485 million from only 1,600 millionaires. The question of fairness in the tax system is at hand. We all have different opinions about it, but I believe, or else I wouldn't say it, I believe that you're there to oversee fairness. The guy next door to me, where I live, in my house in New Jersey, if he doesn't pay his property taxes, and the guy on the next block from us doesn't pay his property taxes, people understand now that we're going to have to pay higher property taxes unless some other kind of revenue is found. It's tax fairness. Pay what you're supposed to pay, and people will complain less. People believe many times, Mr. Werfel, Commissioner, that they're being shafted when it comes to figuring out tax policy. And I think you and I have an obligation to address that day in and day out. The tip of the iceberg. Last week we learned that we will recover at least $560 billion from rich tax cheats after the next decade. So you've been portrayed, the group, the agency you work for has been betrayed as, oh, they're coming after you. See, create fear that you're the bad guys. Lincoln dealt with that during the Civil War, very honestly. If money was going to be used for the war, how would the towns throughout America, build their roads, their hospitals, their schools, et cetera, et cetera? That's why we have a big argument over salt. I hear from my own neighbors, you are now answering our calls. Refund checks are going out faster. These successes are because of, I think, your leadership, and because of historic funding passed by Democrats, mostly, to make the IRS work for regular Americans. Wow. I remind everyone, every single Republican in Congress voted against the Inflation Reduction Act and against funding for the IRS to do its job. I mean, the facts are the facts. As Tom Suozzi would say, the facts are the facts. Members of the other side have made IRS funding their white whale to be harpooned at any cost. They have clawed back 1/4 of the historic funding. Like the shark in Jaws, they want another bite. The Congressional Budget Office has estimated that funding that I believe Republicans stole away will cost the American people double, nearly $400 billion, nearly $40 billion, excuse me. So I have a question for you. Millionaires and billionaires need to pay their fair share. I think everybody will agree up here. I think, I'm not sure. What is the IRS doing to audit high net wealth individuals and tax cheats?
Congressman, it's where we're focused, and we're taking multiple different steps. First of all, we're hiring additional accountants, auditors, And where they're being deployed and where we're shifting our audit workforce is to make sure that we're focusing efforts on high wealth individuals, because that's where we think we have a growing problem of tax evasion, and we need to address it. We're deploying technology differently. We're using analytics and AI to better understand how money moves in these very complicated arrangements. You know, companies with subsidiaries and subsidiaries to those subsidiaries, money moving across international jurisdictions, understating their profits in the US, doing all of these things that are difficult to track, and we're investing in subject matter expertise, people, technology, analytics, all so that we can catch up and make this fair, because we should be able to have equal ability to assess the guy down the street's taxes as your taxes. And if you're middle and low income, mostly your taxes are fairly simple, and we have the means and the capacity to assess it. Where we have lost the capacity is for the complicated situations. And when we're underfunded, that gap grows. And so as long as I'm commissioner and the funding is available, where I'm going to focus is on the gap where the tax returns are complicated and where the evasion is expanding.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr.